What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS.
Established over 100 years ago, Watkins Books is one of the world's oldest and leading independent bookshops specializing in esoterica. We have the widest selection of esoteric books in the UK, and our friendly and knowledgeable staff are here to assist you in a unique ambience of our shop. So come and visit us in the heart of London as we're open every day.
The More Show is supported by Mindscape, Paranormal and UFO Matrix magazines, available for download on all major digital platforms. The comments and views expressed on The More Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The More Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online, you're now watching the UK's only alternative late night talk show, and I'm your host, Kevin Moore. For the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. On today's show, I'm joined with Phyllis King. Now, Phyllis has coached tens of thousands of people in 20 different countries. She is known for her practical and down-to-earth approach. She has been featured on CBS and NBC TV, radio programs across the USA, and has been published in over 70 print and online publications. She has authored 4 books, including Bouncing Back, Thriving in Changing Times with Dr. Wayne Dyer. She joins me today to discuss her latest book, The Energy of Abundance, Practical Advice and Spiritual Wisdom for Achieving Anything in Life. Phyllis King, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, no, I'm really happy to have you on. And just for the audience, what part of the US are you based in right now?
Well, I'm in Northern California, about 40 minutes east of San Francisco.
Excellent. Okay. Now, do you have a practice over there as well? Do you have a...
Yes, I do. A thriving practice, I'm happy to say. I've been at it a long time. I also work from my home, and I travel, and every which way I can chatter to people, I do.
Excellent. Okay. Well, this is going to be a very interesting interview because it's one of my favorite sort of subjects as well, abundance and manifestation. But just to begin with, just tell the audience a bit about yourself and how you got into this work, because I also understand that you're intuitive as well.
I am indeed. Well, that piece I was born with, and that's what instigated this whole crazy life that I am, this crazy, wonderful life that I now have. But I began having experiences with the intangible becoming tangible at early ages, before elementary school. And I could tell you so many different scenarios, but I saw a lot of things, I perceived a lot of things, I had a lot of precognitive experiences, and saw dead people, not trying to, they just happened upon me. So I had a voracious appetite to understand it, and to understand what it meant about me, what it meant about life, what it meant about God, everything. And that led me into more information about spiritual awareness and the game of life, because it was never enough for me to say, yes, so-and-so loves you or so-and-so doesn't. Yes, you're going to get that job, or no, you're not. And now I've evolved into really a business, a life coach, a mentor. I still do intuitive readings. I mix it up in any which way I can that's interesting and fun for myself and others.
Oh, right. Okay, so you still do readings for people, but as you say, you mix it up a bit.
Well, most people want the whole enchilada. That's a very American phrase. They want all of it. They want the whole meal. They want the intuitive piece, but they want the practical and spiritual dialogue as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got the whole package, basically. And I suppose, really, you've become a bit more of a teacher now, in a sense, as well.
You know, it's all teaching at this point, and helping people unlearn their bad habits.
Oh yes. And what was the process then? Why is this book relevant now? Why write this book now?
Well, forgive me. I'm laughing at myself because I, like all people, have an ego, and I wanted to make my mark and make my plunge into the world. And some years ago, I came upon this wonderful literary agent who is, who's who in my world. He's the person you want to be with. And I was on the cusp of being signed with him, and I was hugely excited, thinking, this is my big break. I'm going to make it. And I did get signed. Thank goodness he saw through my egoic tendencies and decided to still sign me. And I had this book written that I thought, this is the book. This is it. And I hand him the manuscript, and he says, no, this isn't the book. And I'm like, what? So essentially I had to go back to the drawing table and think about, well, what's next? And it literally took me 2 years of my own personal growth and understanding, well, how did I get this opportunity, but I can't take advantage of it, and what's going on? Long story short, I thought, why don't I just write about everything I teach in my business? It's right here on the tip of my tongue. It's what I talk about all the time: abundance, becoming successful, how to have more in love, wealth, personal happiness, what have you. And that was a very easy thing to do. And this book is for other people. It's not for me. My last book was for me. It was a very different point of view.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. But obviously you've lived this. You're the living proof of this.
Well, I am the living proof, and all my clients are the living proof. And so the book has a lot of stories, consequently, of people and their success stories, as well as their challenges. So, and often readers can see themselves through the stories of others. But, back to your other question, it's like, why now? It's, now more than ever, in this technologically driven culture where things are sped up, everything's touch, push, talk, everything is fast, and emotions and connection go slow. And knowing how to connect to ourselves and others and to understand ourselves is just imperative on levels I can't even describe.
Yes, absolutely. And okay, well, we're going to be discussing your book, which is on the screen now, The Energy of Abundance. What makes your book different to some of the other books out there in a sense of manifestation or law of attraction?
Mm-hmm. Well, I haven't read every book out there, but I've done a large sampling, and I know the bigger names and the bigger books that are out there. I have a lot of specificity in terms of how to track your process, because people have a concept, but they don't really know how to bring it into the body to apply it in their everyday life. And so I really do everything I possibly can to break it down, do this, and then do that. And then when this happens, you need to adjust in this way. And I give really a specific formula that takes you inside of yourself to monitor your own process, so you can really get why things are working and why they're not. I mean, there's no gray area.
No, that's actually very clear. That yes, and that is very different. The actual, to follow those procedures through as well. Well, okay. Well, let's go straight into your book then. What is the energy game, as you term it?
Well, everything's energy, of course, and it's my way to describe in a scientific and linear fashion how the creative process works. But breaking it down, of course, the whole book is on the energy game, but quickly. On one end of the spectrum, you're going to have apathy and boredom and depression. Those are thick, dense, slow-moving frequencies. On the other side of the spectrum, generosity, enthusiasm, happiness, those are thin, fast-moving, spacious frequencies. You can create from anywhere in that spectrum, but you're going to like what you create with those faster-moving frequencies. And it's also a game of pretend. That's why we call it a game, because consciousness doesn't recognize the difference between real and imagined. Perspective is trained. So it's a practice of acting and feeling as if what you want is already yours, already exists. And when life is throwing you some curveballs and you're emotionally attached to it, it may be simple to understand, but it's a challenge for people to disattach from their emotional connection and go into right action and right thinking and right feeling. But when you learn to think about, what are the energies of this? I feel terrible at this moment. I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm worried. Those are contracted, dense, slow-moving frequencies, and they're not going to take you any place you want to go. And when you look at it as a challenge and an adventure, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to deny that and state, this is my truth, my reality, and this is what I'm creating. So the energy game is being aware of the energies you're consuming, using to create your life, and then choosing to use different ones. And in the book, I give some examples about how to do that as well.
Yes, you do. Yes, yeah. I mean, it's a pretty easy read in that sense as well, which is always nice to keep it simple. I think that's important for any book, because sometimes it can get a bit complicated otherwise. Well, with your book as well. Is this book for anyone that's looking to manifest a new relationship, or something in their business, or something in in their personal life that they want to experience, be it an object or whatever, a new job or whatever it may be?
It's for whatever you want. It's a holistic point of view. And I come from a perspective that our finances aren't in one place, our relationships aren't in another, and our professional life isn't in another. We may be higher functioning in certain areas for whatever reason, but it's really, I'm teaching people how to create an abundant consciousness, because consciousness itself is what creates the energy, and energy is what creates the tangible. So if you're working the abundant consciousness, you don't have to worry so much about the details of how to get what you need. But if there's certainly plenty of information in the book to help people learn more about how to attract relationships, or allow them in is really the better term, or to move into a more fulfilling career space, or have more money, whatever. It's all the same. So whatever you define as abundant, you'll be able to get more of that.
Okay. And the book suggests as well, and we've just sort of touched on this, but that and everyone can have everything. People, really can have it all in a sense. And is that, that's what's sort of been represented in some of the stories in the book as well. What they, where once they believe that they already have it, then it's attracting everything that they want to them.
It really is. It's a magnetizing game. You generate in your own energy what you want to experience in life, and you hold those frequencies consistently. It's simple math, really. I mean, it sounds simple, but we're having a human experience at the same time. We have to learn to manage our emotions and our response patterns, but pretty much. And when you say you can have it all, certainly, maybe not all at the same time. There's only so many hours in a day. But when you're coming from a place of authenticity that says, this is who I am, and I want this abundance because it's better for me and it's good for everyone around me, it's a collective process. It really becomes effortless to be in an abundant flow, and anything you need will come to you. It's not a worry. It's not an effort. I have to make this thing happen. I want a relationship. I don't have one. I need a new job. It's not linear focus like that. It's really back to cultivating a consciousness that is abundant, and then the word intention becomes viable. Then you just say, I intend to create A, B, or C. And when you're in an abundant consciousness, it will create pretty easily at that point.
So okay, one question I never asked as well, in your opinion, what is abundance? Something as simple as that. How do you class abundance?
Well, and that is the question. Everybody has to define that for themselves. For me, it's the ability to have what I want and what I need when I want it and when I need to have it. For me personally in my life, it's freedom and flexibility, time with the people I love, and feeling great inside my skin. That's my definition. And I think that's the $64,000 question that people have to ask. What is abundance to me?
Could abundance be your calling, your passion?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's certainly one element of it. Now, because if you are on passion and purpose, you have activated your abundant core. That's what you came to the planet in this incarnation. If you ascribe to that idea, you are contributing what you came here to contribute. You are resonating those frequencies that you came here to add to this experience. And that is an act of abundance. But when I talk about being in an abundant flow, it's really being out of resistance and seeing abundance in all acts in life, in all circumstances. And that's a spiritual perspective.
Right, so no matter how small the act, it's still an abundant experience. How do you know when you're not in that abundant energy flow and that things aren't working? I mean, you'd know when they're not working out, but I mean, how do you recognize that you need to, that there's that you need to fix it, but also that it's you that's blocking it as well?
You can tell by how you feel in any given moment. If you're feeling happy or clear, or if you're not. If you're confused, if you're worried, if you're not trusting that life is supporting you, you're not in an abundant space. You can tell by how you feel, and learn, and sometimes just working through that to get out of that contracted mindset is an act of becoming more abundant, expanding into a larger perspective.
Do you think to become more abundant, you need to come from the space that whatever you do has got to be of service to others?
Well, service. Here's how I answer that. We're all connected, whether we want to be or not. We can't get away from it. It's not possible to not be connected to your fellow human spiritual beings. Everything we do impacts each other. It's like the pebble in the water, the ripple effect. So I want to be as generous and contributory as I possibly can, because it's selfish, because I know it's going to come back around and it's going to benefit me. And conversely, if I'm feeling angry and mean and selfish, I'm feeling that. Not somebody else, but I'm feeling it. That actually it lessens my experience. So no matter how you slice it up, being contributory and generous to your fellow people and souls is the only way to become abundant. And, I can have $10 million in my bank account, but if I walk down the street and someone is hungry for food, they haven't had a bath in 3 months, and they have a sign, I don't care how they got there, I'm not feeling great, and that affects me. And so that's the perspective I'm coming from. And when in my own practice and my coaching practice, and everything, prosperity is a shared experience, and the more you can connect what you do to benefit others, the faster your position will rise.
Yes. And I suppose you've got to be in the right space to be able to receive this information as well. I mean, some people would never get this, would they? Because they're not consciously aware enough, would you say, potentially, of what they're able to achieve?
Yes, that's true. We're all in a different place on the continuum, going to the same destination, and we're all at different places. And people often need contrast to help them see where their limitations are. Often we'll see them more in relationships when things aren't working out, and we see that, I haven't got this thing mastered yet. And but yeah, some people, you're where you are, and everyone's in the right and perfect place, and I don't judge it or worry about it.
Right. Okay. Now, we said earlier on the interview, the most important step, one of the most important parts for this is to say that you already have it. So if there's something that you want to attract into your life, you act as though you've already got it. That's difficult, isn't it?
It can be, and I would just use the word, I don't know that I use the word attract, I use the word allow and magnetize. But if we're in a funk and we've had a bad run of luck, or our relationship is just sucking terribly, and we're just like, oh my gosh, this is awful, and every person I date or I'm with treats me, we're in a deficit, and our emotions are... We've engaged with our emotional reactions, and it takes a lot of focus and a lot of determination and, frankly, a lot of courage to just stop for a minute and set that aside and practice doing something differently. And most of us just let those momentums build. And it's not too different than walking around your house and accidentally knocking your knee on the wall or your elbow and going, ow, 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 ow. But you stop and you attend to yourself and you make it better. But in our emotional world, we don't tend to do that. We don't really stop and attend to it to make sure we're okay. We just let that firestorm continue until it becomes an ongoing thought pattern for it. So when you talk about the book, it's a simple read on purpose. I want the concepts to be simple because they aren't necessarily easy to execute. No. However, the good news is that once you get practice with it, you get a couple wins under your belt, it becomes easy because people like what works. And it's a much more benevolent way to be in life.
But what if we're doing it already? We're attracting things in our life. We recognize we are, yet we really don't know how we're doing it because it just seems to be happening. And we're like, well, how have I done that? But it's happened. Well, it was effortless. It wasn't difficult to do that, but yet I've done it. How? How have I done that?
Well, you're organically in the abundant flow, which is our natural state of being. There's no reason we shouldn't be, but we come into the lifetime with programming and influences and well-meaning people and religious doctrine that we use to try and turn us into good people. And we forget to listen to ourselves. But what you described would be someone who listens to their own instinct, their own navigation, and they're able to set intention, and they do it very organically. Yes. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Yeah. It's as though those people are saying to themselves, right, okay, I can manifest this. It's my God-given right to have whatever I want because, I have that's what we're here to do, to have experience and, to be able to manifest these things. It's a natural process of using this reality to do that, to form things and create from nothing, the situations and events that we want into our life, you're coming, like you say, from that God source space, that you are the creator of everything, and because you come from that natural space, naturally all these things fall in place.
That's what you described.
Yeah,
sounds like a good way to go.
Well, yeah, and I think people can get that from this book. This book helps them to remember that side of themselves.
Well, exactly. And it took me a lot of years to undo some thinking that wasn't working for me, and a lot of clients. I practiced on a lot of clients for a lot of years, and I got to see how it worked in their lives. And there's no doubt about it that we are creators. Collaborators, co-creators in our lives, and it's really exciting and freeing.
Magic.
To be able, it's magical for sure. It's not magic, but it is magical, and it is wonderful, and it's such an easier way to live. Because sometimes people say to me, "Gosh, Phyllis, that's what you're asking is so hard," but actually, having failure after failure and disillusionment after disillusionment is much harder.
Oh yeah, and I think, as you've said as well, and I'm sort of just emphasizing what you said, unless you go with your gut feeling on what feels right that you're doing, and go with your highest joy in the moment, whatever that may be, what you're looking for, the new career path, the new self-employment path, the new job, whatever it may be, the new relationship, go with that instinctive side of you that always knows best, your higher self, listening to your inner feelings. It always leads you to the right path, and it'll lead you on to using the energy of abundance.
It will never lead you wrong. It's a way you can't control. It's not a controlling point of view. It's a collaborating. It's learning how to work with your senior partner, which is divine consciousness, of which you are the junior partner. You're just a bit of consciousness. You're a speck that broke away to have this human experience. But amazing. We are creative, and we can create in the abundant direction or the other way or anywhere in between.
It's funny, isn't it? I interview a lot of people, and everyone's got their own truth, and so they should do. Yeah. Everyone's got their own different opinion. There's not one person I've come by recently that all says the same thing, and they're all right. But that's the way it should be, because your truth is all that matters. And those that are listening to this are looking at maybe adding to their truth, or tomorrow they may change their truth. But the one truth in all of this that I see is that this information we're talking about now, it always remains the same truth, that this is available to us. It's the only one constant is the law of attraction, it seems to me, in all the work that I cover. This stuff really works, and it doesn't change.
Mm-hmm. Well, the fact that we are inherently abundant, that we were born that way, and that all experiences are for us to expand, that is never going to change. That's what we're here to do, expand and grow. And until we evolve to that enlightened state where expansion is no longer required, then that's what we'll be doing.
Absolutely. And with all the clients that you've worked with, and your own process in all this journey as well, because that's just as important, how much does life test you when you know what you want and you're going to go for it, and you set the intention, and you're just, as I've spoken about, gone from that natural source, that you are the source of all creation, you are worthy, just go for it. How much does life test you sometime to really, well, do you really want this? Is this really what you want? Okay, here's a little test that could put you off.
Well, I don't know, Kevin, that I look at it quite like a test. I think that we identify with beliefs and values and experiences as having value. And when we are expanding, we have to shift our identification points of what we think is valuable. And that's what takes time. And so if we lack certainty about our intention or our direction, that will be mirrored back to us. But the more certain and the more committed we become to ourselves, essentially, then the more things work for us. And so if something doesn't work out, it just, and I tell people, pay attention to your outcomes. It's all the information you need. And pay attention to how you feel about what happened. Oh, I felt inadequate, or I felt, it just proved to me I didn't know what I was talking about. It shows you what you still need to heal, what you're still trying to evolve beyond. So the tests, as you refer to them in that way, it's only because you haven't quite mastered that specific lesson. Sometimes we think, I want to manifest $10,000 or a relationship or whatever, and it's not singular. We're pulling all of our awareness forward. We're not just pulling our money awareness forward. We're pulling our belief about ourselves. Do I deserve it? Yeah. Do I know how? Have I put in the pieces that actually cultivate? There's many things involved to that. It's not just one dimension.
And oh gosh, no, absolutely not. And I can't remember what I was going to say there, because it was actually from what you
I
just
threw
said.
You off. Yes, I did it. No, I'm
Okay.
kidding.
No, that was. I agree with everything you're saying. I really do, and I think you this is why this is important. This stuff is important because it can make for a much happier life once you know that you're in charge. And what are some of the sort of the common mistakes people make when it comes to abundance?
I think the biggest one I see over and over and over is that people attach to outcomes. That they say, I want the $10,000, and I go, okay, great goal, but they're unable to free themselves to allow the divine to co-collaborate with them. They have to keep getting in the way. I describe it as like, you go plant tomatoes outside. You don't go back every 3 minutes and check to see, did you grow yet? Did you grow yet? Did you grow yet? And then get anxious about the fact they haven't grown yet. And that one thing, and smart people do it more than not smart people. Well, because they're so used to being skilled in the achievement world that when they're not in controlling it and making it happen, they're afraid. They can't just step out of it and watch something intangible in the universe kick in. So, that's a really big one, attaching to outcomes. Was there something you wanted to say on that before I keep going?
It's so true what you're saying there, because when you do, okay, so you know what it is, what you'd like to experience, as in what you want to attract, but when you let go, something better will come. So it's not always what you think it's going to be, and if you let and go with the flow and let it come in, it's maybe something you couldn't even foresee that then comes in, and it makes you so much more happier than what you thought you could be.
That's a great point. And, just in that scenario I outlined, I want $10,000. Well, if you get out of the way, for all you know, it'll end up being 50 or 100. I mean, if you can get out of the way, that's really that's the name of the game. And that's why I talk so much about allowing in what you want, because the ego, the intelligent mind, is a finite form of consciousness. It requires a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's designed to help us in this human experience. But the heart consciousness, the spiritual awareness, divine consciousness, is unlimited. And if you're deferring to that wisdom as opposed to the wisdom of the finite, the qualifier, your outcome will always be larger. And so it's that same old adage, if you want to be great at tennis, play with someone who's better than you, play with someone who's got it more together than you, those sports analogies, or study with someone who's smarter than you. Same idea. You always want to be deferring to the larger intelligence. Now, if I'm doing my taxes, I'm going to defer to my ego. Okay, how do I add 2 plus 2? What line do I put this on, right? I'm going to use that linear mind for what it's best suited to do.
Yes, absolutely, and sometimes some of us are playing what I call tapes, where the tape of "I'm not worthy," or "it can't be me," or I'm not lovable enough to do this, or to have that new relationship, or as I've just said, that I'm not worthy enough of attracting that. I was always told that, I'm too stupid to do this, or whatever it may be. So we have to really, get rid of those tapes sometimes and realize that actually, by clearing ourselves down, we allow them for these energies and for the process that you're outlining in the book to happen.
Yes, that's a really important piece, and people have to figure out how to work that out for themselves. And sometimes it can move faster than you anticipate, because it only takes about a month to create a new thought pattern in the brain. And if you're consistent repetitively with affirmations or just a new plan, you can develop new habits faster than you think. So the pain of trying to adjust to this line of thinking doesn't go on for that long. But yeah, that inner chatter, and I have so many conversations with clients about having the inner dialogue match the language, and then once it matches the language, you're onto something, because the body will follow.
Yes, and it always does, doesn't it? It always does. We talked about life purpose as well, because I want to just come back to that, because I think that's an important part of this, to know what it is you're trying to strive for as well. What if I suppose I could ask this question in two ways. Let me ask it, because this sort of works into relationships as well. First of all, how can you be in tune with knowing trying to figure out your life purpose? Is that, again, listening to your gut feeling, or how would you answer that?
Depending on the person, some people have to rediscover it again. Most people know it when they're kids, unless there's been some severe, abuse or oppression of some sort. It's just been drowned out of them early in life. But most people, if I ask them, what do you love? If they say, I don't know, then I'll just give them a couple minutes and say, well, what did you love when you were 17 or 14 or 12 or whatever? And then they go, well, I really loved art, or I thought I wanted to work in the environment or with children. They start to recapture what came to them automatically. And, pardon me, I had to cough sorry about that.
I'll take that.
There's also a little formula I give people. If you're really linear and you can't connect to your feelings, remember 7 times in your life that when you showed up, it doesn't matter if you were paid or not paid, because you were there, the job got done well, or you knew you made a difference and people congratulated you, any number of things, that will take you, string those 7 moments together, and that will string together for you what you're good at, what you're meant to be doing.
Right, okay, now then moving this to relationships, because that's another biggie, I think it is, for a lot of people. What if we just we're not sure about the relationship we're in, or we're just really lost in a sense with it, we can't, and as much as we try to tune into what our gut feeling, our higher self is trying to tell us, we are either ignoring it, or we don't want to listen, or we just don't think we are listening to what may be true for us. Should we give ourselves time or meditate? I mean, what would you say we should do?
Well, of course, it's specific to each situation. But in relationships, most of the time what I see are people are afraid. I think we're always struggling to find comfort and to feel familiar with people and circumstances. And then we do everything humanly possible to preserve that moment of comfort. And we're so focused on that we get afraid of the unknown. But, if you're in a relationship that doesn't feel like it's working for you, or you're not content, start with yourself first. What's going on with me? How am I? Always go back to yourself first. What have I created for myself? What am I experiencing? And then, learn how to communicate with your partner about it if you can. But, it really depends on the circumstance, but always go back to yourself first and see what's playing out in your own dialogue, in your own thinking.
Yeah, and I only come back to that because it's that another example of trying to get in contact with, that intuitive, all-knowing, all-loving, all-wise part of yourself, because it's important to try to work with that in the larger picture for your life, really, in a sense.
Yeah. Well, relationships are most complex and best mechanisms for growth on the planet, in my point of view. So,
Oh gosh, yes.
they teach us more about ourselves than anything else I can think of.
You could say that.
Yeah. And I've had the good fortune to teach a love class for about 4 years now.
Okay.
And it's been fascinating to watch people's process and what gets in the way of relationships. And there's really only a handful of things. And I would say one is, people don't know themselves well enough, usually. There's some unresolved wounding or healing that they haven't taken care of. They have some preconceived notions that are erroneous about men or women or how relationships work. There's just not enough information. And then, or people also aren't on purpose, and they look to relationship to fill needs that they can't possibly fill. And essentially people aren't loving themselves enough to be able to find a loving partner. And it's kind of fascinating. And once you clear out some of that debris that clogs up our airways to receiving love, a lot of people can connect after that. Just tweaking a few little elements. It's pretty fascinating.
Yes, oh yes, it is. And like you say, there's nothing more powerful than relationships to really to know yourself and as a way to heal yourself as well. And sometimes we don't always take the advantage of the opportunities that they give us, but they'll just keep coming back to bite you if you don't. So
that's for sure.
I suggest you listen sometimes, but yeah.
Learn it now or learn it later.
That's right, exactly. Well, in that sense of things going around, what about karma then? What's your views on karma and with abundance as well?
Well, this is where the intuitive piece can be helpful to some people if you ascribe to that we live more than one life in a human body, that we do create imbalances in energy. And if we don't resolve them, like we just say, I'm too tired, I can't do it, I'm stopping with this particular person or situation, we eventually are going to have to dissipate that karma at some point on the continuum, or else we're not going to be able to be enlightened. You can't bring a low vibration frequency into, the happy space, if you want to call it that way. And we all have it. And I would say all of our relationships are karmic in nature, that we've known everyone in our lives, 95% of the time that we're working some level of karma. Was that enough of an answer?
Yeah. Again, this is your truth, and this is the way that you feel it to be, and this can only resonate with people, can't it? If what you're saying doesn't resonate, or parts of it, then you can you can choose which parts do resonate and which parts do not. For me, everything you're saying resonates, and I'm sure it does for the audience. That's another way of being true to yourself as well, isn't it? Of choosing which parts do and which parts don't.
Oh yes, and I'm of the same mindset. Take what fits, throw away the rest.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the only way to be sometimes, especially. And do you think that when people come across your work, for example, this lady's book, they're coming across your book because they're having they're raising their consciousness, they're becoming more aware of who they are, and they're raising their level of spirituality in a sense?
Absolutely. And I've seen people, I have clients right now from both ends of the spectrum. People who have enormous amounts of money, 100 times more than I have, but they're struggling in their own way to understand why their creative process is bringing them results that they don't like. And people who have far, far less than me, who are struggling to figure out, how can I have a little more, and why is my life miserable? It's all ends of the spectrum, and there's no socioeconomic cutoff for people who need this information. No. It's not. There isn't an income bracket that it falls into.
No, that's right. And if we fall into one of those categories, then be it be it the two opposite extremes there, how do we start that process of healing to bring into fruition the life that we want? How do we heal ourselves to start this work?
Great question. I would say you want to start with some type of a structure. You have to retrain yourself. You have to start a process of retraining, something that you can live with, that you want to live with. You have to have a motivation, of course, but you have to start reprogramming the mind, like you talked about, that clearing out those old thoughts that don't work. You have to start to build in what you want to be your new reality and begin to practice it in some way. I do this for a living, so I talk about it all day long, every day. So I've sort of built in a way to keep talking about it ongoingly and reminding myself what I need to hear. And so for people who aren't in my work, you kind of have to do the same thing. And for most people, it's as simple as watching your language. I hear a lot of people either putting themselves down or disqualifying themselves before they even start. Those types of things, stopping that. I mean, just start with one thing at a time. It really only takes changing one thing at a time to have a dramatic difference, and then another thing after that.
What about for someone? What's the healing process? Well, this is maybe a tough question, but someone that's had manifestation in their life, in the sense where they just everything came easy to them in the end. They attracted wealth, they attracted relationships. Everything was just there for them for a long time, and then all of a sudden they lost it, and it went, and they entered a dark place in the sense where they could never get back to where they were before. How can people heal situations like that? Because I've come across that with people where they've had everything and and they've lost it all, and it seems to be a struggle for them to get back to that, because they've almost lost that connection of that power they had before, where it was just there and they never questioned it.
Well, there has, for someone like that, there's got to be some karma at play, first of all. Yeah. There would have to be, for the experience to have that much charge that it could come up and to be something huge and then fall apart. And that is the nature of karma anyhow. It's a big rise and a big fall, and then you start all over again. But for someone who loses it all, I mean, there is no such thing as losing. It's the idea that we've lost, and we've identified with those things as having value and meaning in our life. And for me, it's like the people we love and care about, and being able to participate in life in a manner that feels great to us is the only thing that really has any meaningful value. And I had read an article not too long ago, I think it was in Psychology Today, maybe early this year. Yeah. It said, anything you gain, earn, get, win, the stimulation lasts about 20 minutes. It's an external titillation that says, I did something. But what really makes us feel good is when we overcome challenge, grow beyond a limiting idea, heal from something that held us down, and that actually builds into us a strength that never leaves us. No one can ever take that from us. Stuff you can always get. Money you can always get. And so it's really, how do I come to terms with the identifications that I made to life that I said were valuable? Oh, I need to live at a 5,000 square foot home or I'm not valuable. Oh, I need to drive a $200,000 car or a $50,000 car, whatever your number, or I haven't arrived. There's something. And so again, it forces you to reevaluate what you think is valuable and what is meaningful in life in general. And whenever you're giving away your power or saying my happiness lies outside of me, you're sort of gone down the wrong road. Not that you shouldn't enjoy stuff. Enjoy stuff. Have fun with stuff, but it's just stuff.
Yeah, no, that's so true. What you're saying, that when we become when we need things, or we become addicted to holding on to them, they always have a way of going. It's almost like those who are wealthy, those who have attracted wealth, right? Because that's what they chose to do. Wealth can be a number of different things there, but it doesn't have to be money, right? But when they have attracted such things, they've done so in the sense where they are not attracted. So what if they lose it? They don't care. Yeah, they're not attached to it.
Well, yes, some people that works. That does happen for them. But I have current clients in process right now, who multimillionaires who feel the same as people who are paycheck to paycheck, and whether it's $200,000 they're losing or $200, it still feels the same. They still feel inadequate, like they've screwed up, like they're a failure. They need to be embarrassed, and that something's wrong with them. So we're just talking numbers, more zeros. But a lot of people put their value in what they've achieved or what they haven't achieved, and it really isn't about that.
Yes. They do, because and then as soon as they've got that fix of whatever it is they've wanted to think that would make them happy, they're on to the next fix.
Yeah.
The next thing.
Well, and funny, I have a current client right now, in a relationship dynamic where she's been struggling with her partner, and I'm like, well, what do you need from him? And well, I need this, and I need X, Y, and Z. And so she presented X, and he gave it to her. She still wasn't content. Oh, well, I need Y. So she presented Y, and he gave her Y. Funny, she still wasn't happy, and he gave her Z, and that still wasn't enough. And so our recent conversation, well, when is it going to be enough? It's only going to be enough when you change your perspective about what's happening in your life, that it's never outside of you what's going to make you feel great about yourself or your life. It's how you think about it and what you project into it.
And what would that look like? I mean, if someone is, okay, I hope I'm not going around the houses here, but if someone is attracting such things in their life, right, where they're it's always the next thing. What are we saying here? That really it's the only true happiness is when someone's well, how would I answer that? I guess I would say that I'm looking for wanting to experience major wealth, but it's what I'm going to do with that wealth. I would use it to set my own television network up. That's for a spiritual channel where it's giving back to people. That would make me content because I'm giving back, but I've also attracted such wealth where I can get to experience it. But then I might want something different when that has happened. Am I making sense? I think.
Yeah. I think I get what you're saying in the question, and this is why when I'm teaching people, and I stay away from words like manifest and attract, because for me it's an allowing process.
Yeah, sure.
It's so much more about allowing.
Yeah.
I have them identify the feelings that they want to contribute. So when you're talking to me about your television network, okay, there's something about educating, and there's something about contributing, and really identifying what it gives to you,
right? So
and how it makes you feel exactly.
So what you do, so before you attract something, you could actually perceive it, imagine it in your mind about what feeling it would give you. And if the feeling is not what you thought it was going to be, then maybe it's not really what you wanted in the first place, in a sense. That as well. But let's take it in a different direction to make it easier. Say you want a relationship, and for women or men, I say, well, what do you want? Well, I want to be treasured and adored. I want to laugh. I want camaraderie. I want safety. Well, feel what those feelings feel like and bathe in them every day for a few minutes. And that's your intention. That's what you're putting into consciousness, and consciousness will arrange around those feelings to provide you the perfect partner. And same way with your TV network. What are the feelings you're wanting to feel from, executing that task of setting up that structure? And then you have the added benefit
of all the different people it would touch, all the different people that could benefit, which only adds to your ability to be prosperous because you've connected it to so many others.
And the jobs it gives people and everything else. Yeah, you know, there's a lot to that. What you've just said there, absolutely. And once we developed what these things would feel like, then we can fine tune it to really go into alignment of what we really want, because what we thought that feeling might be, maybe there's a better alignment with just changing a few things on what we think we want, and actually this we can really get down to what it is that would bring joy and happiness and make a difference to yourself. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow, it's deep stuff. It's and we've only scratched the surface of the book, really. So I would recommend anyone to read this book, because as I've said before, it's an easy read, but there's we've only just gone over just the basic chapters. What would you say then is the most important message of your work, in a sense?
Teaching people to see abundance where it is. We tend to think of abundance only as a positive or as a happy event. But when you are able to look at something that's difficult and see why that added value to your life, and you can appreciate it, even something horrific, and say, oh, look who I became because that happened to me. Look how I have now grown into this or that or the other. Or look at the skill sets I developed. Look how much compassion. When you're able to see abundance where it is rather than victimizing, you're halfway into the abundant flow. Just that one skill, more than anything else, see it where it is huge. And I think I made that point throughout the book, that you just keep seeing that life is working for you, and whenever you can see that, you're on the right track. And that is the process. And it is deep, I get it, but you're expanding perspective, and you're teaching yourself how to see life through a larger lens. And that's what we do in the human experience, is expand ourselves.
And when when man plans, God laughs.
I didn't mean to laugh like I'm God or something, but that was great fun.
But it's true, though, isn't it? We have all these plans of the things that we want to do, and we think life's such a straight road, and guess what? It is not. It's twists and turns all the time. And I'll leave it with this, through myself moving back from Cardiff in the UK, where I was based, back up to a place called Cleethorpes in the UK right now. That's where I'm just based just for now. I'm sure there's be other options at different places in the world in the future that I'd like to go, maybe America. But I've now I have another YouTube channel that I'm working on, which is for kids content, which is kids TV shows, cartoon stuff as well. I never thought I would ever be doing anything like this, but through just going from A to B and knowing that I want to. Well, how did I get there? I said, but this is really trying to be helpful towards the audience. But I had in mind that I wanted to have money for this show. I wanted to have a source of income where I didn't rely on advertisers, where I wanted to be my own source of income to support this show and the TV network that I want to do. So what happens? This opportunity to produce content in a completely different arena opens up. Nothing that I could have ever foreseen. And I know I've attracted it to myself. I know I've used the power, the law of attraction to do this, and your work as well with the attraction of using abundance to do this. And it was never what I thought it was going to be. It's something much better, much enjoyable, much happy. If you just trust that inner self, that inner knowing, that and your instinctive part of you that's always looking out for you, it won't go wrong. And to read material like your book as well to enforce that. Can only be of great benefit.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear that, and that's the intention.
Absolutely. Well, I hope I haven't babbled on too much.
I love your babbling, and it's not babbling.
Good. Well, I hope I'm just trying to be, sincerely, some help to people. So if someone wanted to get in contact with yourself to be mentored, or to look at some of the options that they can work with you to, attract things in their life and use your teachings, you take clients from all over the world?
All over the world. Obviously, when you're in the other side of the world, it's scheduling is always what it is. But yeah. Okay.
So they basically, if they just get in contact via your website,
yes,
is that the best way?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
And then overseas clients, Skype is always the best.
Yes, yeah. So Skype is a way to connect and everything. Okay. Well, we'll put that link and on the screen now with your website and everything.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate all that.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, look. Well, I just want to thank you so much for coming on today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. I had a great time. Wonderful. Great questions.
Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on our past and upcoming guests on the show via themoreshow.co.uk, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.